In this section, we'll start making our app more visually appealing using the assets we imported previously. Let's dive in. We're starting with the basic window setup we created before. Our goal is to add a background image and some decorative elements like screws using the image component. First, we'll add the background image as the basis for positioning other elements. Let's add an image component. The code completion will suggest components as you type. Select Image and hit Tab. We can now add an ID for the component and a source for the image component to retrieve the image we want to display. The ID will be pedal background, and the source will be the folder and file name plus file extension of the image we want to use. In our case, assets guitar pedal background.png. We want the image to fill the whole window component. To achieve this, we can position the background using anchors. Anchors allow an item to be placed by attaching one or more of the item's anchor points, boundaries, to an anchor point of another component. These anchors will remain even if the dimensions or location of one of the items changes. You can think of a component as having a set of 7 invisible anchor lines: left, horizontal center, right top, vertical center, baseline, and bottom. More on this later. Anchors.fill conveniently sets each corner of our component to the target item. In our case, the window. Now we can build and run to see if our image displays correctly. Great, our image fills the whole window as we wanted. Let's add the screws. Each screw is an image component. We want to place them in the corners of the window, but how can we position them? Anchors, of course. Starting with one screw, we will position it in the top left corner. We'll add an image component and set the source image. We won't set any ID. So we can set the left and top anchor to the parent's left and top anchor. This means the screw should be positioned correctly. We can build and run again to test the positioning of the screw. The screw is in the correct place but needs some additional spacing to inset the position a little. Anchors support the margin property. Margins specify the amount of empty space to leave on the outside of an item's anchor. We can add a margin to the screw to test this. Copying and pasting our screw image component is an option here to complete the last 3 screws. However, we could make our lives easier. Let's create a parent item component that contains our screws. Item is the base type for all Visual Qt Quick components. With our item component, we can create a container for our screws that fills the window and creates our margin. We can now remove the margin properties from our screw and move them to the newly created item component. We'll move the previously created screw into the item component, then build and run to test it works as expected. Now let's set up the remaining screws. Hit build and run to see the final result. Perfect, now we have an interesting canvas to continue building our app. To recap, we took the first steps of building the visuals of our app, adding the background image and filling the window. After, we added screws around the edges and positioned them using anchors and margins. In the next section, we will continue to add visuals to the guitar pedal and simplify some elements by creating custom components that can be reused across the app.